Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Ian, as you all know. I'm just keep on plodding along reading stories, old stories, because I've noticed that a lot of information is getting tainted and being blown out of into ridiculous, out of proportion in such a way that how could one just say in 10 or 15 years time somebody has a story that they know is wrong, like something I'm going to read to you today, and it's been diluted and bits added on, and then your child, a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, comes up to you and says, "How, uh, Mum, Dad, what is this?" I said this the other day. How can you explain about a story that you know has a bit of truth in it, and you know the rest of it, but yet the rest is fake, and the child is interested in a bit of the truth in it? You can't. So what I keep doing is I'm reading approximately 50-plus-year-old stories, which I know are factual. Right. So today I'm going to this one's called The Seasoning of Life, and it's about salt. So I'll start now. Please subscribe, by the way, if you like my stories, and like my channel if you want. If you don't mind, thank you. Right. Anyway, it's called The Humble Compound That Flavoured History. Common salt, the humble seasoning, taken for granted at meal times, is the stuff of history. It is so vital to human survival that wars have been fought over it, empires have been founded on it and have collapsed without it, and civilizations have grown up around it. The world's salary is a constant reminder of salt's importance. Roman legionnaires were given a salarium, a salt allowance. Later the word came to mean a cash allowance to buy salt. From this it was a short step to its present meaning. Man realised from his earliest days that he had to have salt or perish, for without it the delicate salt and water balance in the body is upset and death occurs through dehydration. It began with the Stone Age tribesmen following their cattle to salt licks, outcrops of salt rock the animals had located for their own survival. The humans carried salt from the life-giving rocks back to their caves, but eventually they discovered a more reliable supply: brine salt springs. Primitive cultures developed around these springs at places such as Droitwich in England, the Moselle region of France, and Saal in Germany. Over thousands of years, entire forests were destroyed by man to provide wood fires for evaporating water from the precious salt. The demand for salt even altered landscapes. Ancient people created coastal lakes when they dug up sea-soaked peat, burnt it and retrieved salt by boiling the ashes in seawater. While early Europeans were turning salt production into one of the first industries, similar operations were going on in other parts of the world. The earliest settlements in China were near salt pans on the Yellow River. In the Jordan Valley, villages grew up in about 8000 BC by the salt-laden Dead Sea and on Mount Sodom, which is also rich in salt. Over thousands of years, the development of transport enabled people to move away from the salt sources. Early Egyptian farmers, for instance, were supplied by boat with salt from swamps at the mouth of the Nile. The sea has always been the world's main source of supply, and significant phases in history have been directly influenced by its level. When oceans shrink, they leave behind coastal salt ponds and salt-impregnated marshes. When the sea rises, they engulf these salt-rich areas. In 500 BC, the sea was at its lowest recorded level, 3 foot below its present line. Don't forget, this is from 1976, this story is from. It was then that the Greek and Phoenician civilizations reached their peaks. They had vast amounts of home-produced salt available for trade, and the Phoenicians increased their salt treasure by gathering stocks from as far as Spain. Around 400 BC, the Via Salaria, or Salt Road, came into being in Italy, and it still exists today as the oldest road in the country. Salt was carried along it from Rome to the Sabine people in Italy's central regions. The salt trade flourished for 1,000 years around the North Sea, the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, but the sea was rising. By AD 500 it had reached 3 foot above today's levels. In Europe, trade declined as saltworks vanished under the encroaching waves. Meanwhile, Arab lands with access to the Dead Sea enjoyed a new prosperity, trading precious salt for gold, marble and other luxuries. The Arabs' powerful role continued until the 9th century, then the sea receded and the English, French and Dutch were able to start salt production again. The sea intervened in the 16th century by again flooding the saltworks along the coasts of Europe. Huge excavations on England's east coast became lakes. Hundreds of ships plied the oceans to carry salt from nations with plentiful supplies to those hit by the flood. The traders quickly realised that in parts of Africa their commodity was held more precious than human freedom, and salt developed into a powerful factor in the slave trade. Families in the salt-starved interior would sell children into slavery for a handful of salt. Today, the world consumes 169 million tonnes of salt a year, some from underground brine deposits, some from salt lakes or rock, but 30% of the output is still from coastal pans, which are just as vulnerable to a rising sea level as the pans which were submerged centuries ago. Our descendants, hundreds of years from now, will presumably be obtaining their salt from land now beneath the sea. Anyway, I hope you like that story. That was about salt. That story was published in 1976 in a book I've got. I don't like, I'll read anything, but it's got to be true. I won't go down the road of fiction, so everything I tell you is from credible books. I'm doing this because I want to start a channel. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as I can. It's a hobby, basically. But if I'm lucky, I might get a bit further, so I'll plod on and see how it goes. So anyway, if you like my channel, please subscribe. And I'll put another video on in the next day or two. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Bye.